So I've been wanting to make this video for a couple of days, and some of you guys might remember my video on ClearPath that I made, a week or two ago. This is kind of like an update to that video because I found some little adaptations for improving my clear speed, and this has become kind of my main ClearPath for Vi, and I want to share that with you guys and talk about it and kind of go in depth on everything about it every step of the way. This is a ClearPath starting a red buff. I'm not gonna go over ClearPath starting a blue buff in this video because I went over in the other video. Nothing's really changed too much, and I think this is, I guess, maybe more efficient of a ClearPath anyways. So you start with the red buff. You might be confused. I used reset cooldown whatever and then smite the red buff twice. That's just to simulate me getting a leash. Like if I had my two bottom laners, they might be doing, around 1,000 damage of health or whatever to it. So that's all that is. And then I just smite twice, then turn it off. And then my smite quantity will be inaccurate for the remainder of the clear, but that's fine. I'm not going to, use more smites than I would otherwise have, or use them at times when I wouldn't have them or anything like that. So the first thing's red buff. Don't bother kiting the red buff. You can kite the blue buff, but the red buff has got longer attack range. So if you try to kite it around, you just end up kind of wasting your time. If I had a longer attack range, for sure. But the only thing that's worth considering in terms of kiting the red buff is just to save yourself an auto. Like here, I could auto it again right away, but it would be left with 10 HP. So I'm going to step back a little bit and then auto it because my auto is going to do 63 damage and finish it off here. So that just saves me an auto. But apart from that, don't bother kiting it because you're just going to be wasting your time. Now you move on to the golems. And the golems, what I do here is I get ready to smite the big golem as fast as I possibly can. I just want to smite this big golem as soon as humanly possible. You'll notice this clear path's not really optimized around staying high health because I stay high health anyways. You know what I mean? Like the jungle clear is just healthy right now, especially with Ravenous Hunter and everything, the jungle item. Like I'm not really worried about health. So this is all about trying to be as fast as possible. So I smite the big golem to pull it as quick as possible, and then I just start autoing. I auto the small golem and make sure the E passes through the big golem. I used to try to go for the big golem first because it kind of makes more sense in one way, but to get this auto to have the E pass through the small golem as well, or the medium golem, let's call it, when you're just starting this, it's like a little bit harder, I guess. And yeah, and this works just as well. So this is kind of how I started doing it. And then immediately I switch on to the big golem. And then you could auto right away, you'd think. But actually you want to wait a little bit for the damage to tick down on the medium golem a little bit. And then use your second E. Otherwise, it might not get finished off by the tick damage. You'll notice I just autoed it anyways, despite the fact that it was going to get finished off. That's just because, like, I have a little bit of time before I can even auto these other ones, like before they even become targetable. So it's not a huge deal. Like you can always just auto this other medium one and then start autoing these like I did here. If you want, you can let it get finished off by the tick damage though as well. Like that works too. And then I start focusing down one of them. Just, get your 5 autos on it. And then I start focusing down the second one. And here I use an E to clear all 4 of the small golems. You want to make sure you clear all 4 of them ideally. Like sometimes you might only be able to get 3 or something, and it's not a huge deal really, but ideally you want to get all 4 of them with your E. The way that it spreads out is kind of random. And as you're doing this, you can kite back. Like you can kite out of the camp as you're doing. Just make sure you don't go too far away. Now with the raptor camp, I immediately position myself here, and my goal here is to auto on this this little raptor here and hit everything else. I auto E and then I'm trying to move between the autos a little bit. Like I auto E and then start moving before I do any third auto, so that I can get ready to start autoing down the big one. Now I'm gonna auto the big one. I'm gonna get 2 E's off, and the moment I get the 2 E's off, I'm gonna reposition to start an auto onto, or auto E or auto E auto, depending on whether or not your E's come back up yet on one of these little ones. And after that, you can just let the big raptor tick down. These 3 ones, you just have to auto them one time. One thing, I should mention at the golem back here is resist the urge to use your refillable, because if you do, you'll get part of it wasted. You can start using your refillable once you've begun doing the Raptor Camp, your first stack of refillable. Now, when you go here, you click on this spot. You don't go clicking here because then your character is going to start doing this thing or whatever. You go here and you start charging Q around here. Make sure it's a fully charged Q on all 3 of them. Now, you're going to notice something interesting here. I could have auto'd this big raptor, or sorry, this big wolf, but I'm actually going to wait on my E a little bit. I just want to wait a little bit because I want the damage, the tick damage on the small wolves to go down just a little bit before I use my E. And the reason is because as they get to this health here, I can auto them both once and then auto the big wolf one more time, and then they'll all just die. And then here I can Q onto the blue buff, like auto E auto, whatever. And then the blue buff has a shorter attack range than the red buff, so you can kind of kite it out. And then as it's ticking down, it won't always go to 430, so make sure to wait till it gets to 430 or below before smiting it. In a real game, this is about the exact time the scuttle will spawn. Like, I'd be here at 313, 314, 315, 316, depending on how much of leash I got. Maybe 318 at worst if I got like just the shittiest leash or no leash or whatever. And here scuttle's going to spawn. You can start a queue. You can kind of go down and place a ward here if you feel like you need it, or you can go and place a ward here if you feel like you need it. If for some reason you're in a practice tool game, then maybe you can just leave it like this at 50 HP and just go straight to your Gromp to save yourself an extra auto. This might be a little bit risky if you think there's any chance of the enemy top laner taking it or the enemy jungler showing up, so I maybe wouldn't normally do this, but you can do this. It's just a nice little flex, I guess. And then the last thing is just leveling up your Q and then queuing onto the Gromp and then focusing it down, and you're going to get another blast shield that's going to come up. You can also, by the way, use your Smite on the Scuttle as opposed to the blue buff. That's totally a choice. The last thing I want to say is right here, don't use your Q or your E too early, because I got the Q bug with the bonus damage or whatever there that I explained on Twitter, but it's like if you tap the Q, you get the last damage value you would have gotten with Q. I'll probably talk about it at some point, but if you don't get that, that's fine. It doesn't change anything. But the one thing you need to know is that this shield here, like, you want to wait till you use your spells a little bit, because you want to be able to start your recall animation while the Gromp is getting finished off without it being able to interrupt your recall animation. Now, if you have your shield, the Gromp cannot interrupt your recall animation, but if you don't have the shield, the Gromp can interrupt your recall animation. So you kind of want to hold them a little bit to make sure that you can get that to go through. And that's the last thing. So that's how you do a really, really quick clear with Vi. You can finish at 343, 344, 345. Like, it's really, really, really fast. It's competitive with some of the fastest junglers. And I think if you can do this clear, like, you can start things off at a really, really nice pace for yourself. And with this 900 gold, I would normally buy a Doran's blade, a longsword, and a pink ward, and I think that's perfect. And I mean, this isn't realistic. Not every game's gonna, maybe you're gonna, like, your mid lane's gonna need help right now, your top lane's gonna need help right now, or like your jungler, you're gonna get invaded, or like you're gonna get invaded level 1. Who knows, right? But this is like, kind of like an ordinary scenario, like a really good opener. So yeah, and kind of an in-depth analysis of it for you guys, so you can understand and read a little part of it. So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully you guys found that interesting. I just want to share this with you guys. And yeah, good luck in your games.